Good afternoon, it's Saturday, May the 9th, and welcome to a story a day for 26 days. Stories for grown-ups, because don't forget, grown-ups need stories too. Once more, we're in this corner of my living room where you can see my bookshelf and my plants, and welcome. So today's story. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a very, very, very poor man. So poor he didn't have anywhere to live. So poor his clothes were in tatters, and his shoes had crumbled from his feet. Well, this isn't so unusual, is it? I mean, in those times as well as these times, sadly, there are people who have nowhere to live. And also, like this man, there are people who are very, very hungry. And our man, he was so hungry. He hadn't eaten for such a long time. He didn't know when he'd last had a meal. And he was just aimlessly, really, walking around a city, shuffling more than walking, when all of a sudden he smelt all kinds of interesting smells, and his stomach started growling and rumbling, and he just decided to follow his nose. And so, follow his nose he did. And very soon he arrived at a market, and oh, everything was just so incredible, sensory overload. He just had to stand and look and smell, and he could sense meat roasting, and there was a fish in there somewhere, and herbs and spices, and there were stands around him. There was hot food, there was fruit and vegetable stands. Oh, he couldn't believe his eyes or his nose, and all the time his stomach was growling. So he held out his hand as he moved through the market, hoping that maybe somebody would give him some food or some money so he could buy some food. But no, not a penny, not a morsel. And he came to the end of the marketplace, and there in front of him was a stand piled high with fresh, ripe, juicy-looking, golden-looking pears. He couldn't help himself. He honestly couldn't. It was as if his hand had a life of its own. He watched as he put his hand out and just took a pear, bit into it, and the juices ran down his chin, and he couldn't move except to eat this pear, even while the stall holder was shouting for the guards, and the guards were coming, and they dragged him away. They dragged him through the streets to the emperor's palace. This was because the emperor had decided and decreed that he personally would punish any thief. He would set a hard line, and thieves would be punished royally. He knelt prostrate in front of the emperor, who commanded him to tell what he had done. And he begged the emperor. He said, "Please, I'm so hungry. I don't know when I last ate. Please forgive me. Please set me free." And the empress refused. "No," he said, "how can I do that? I have decided that all thieves shall be punished royally. It would be wrong of me to set you free." And the thief thought for a moment, and he said, "Your Majesty, if you can set me free, I will give you an incredible gift." "Oh, poppycock, don't be ridiculous," said the emperor. "What could someone like you possibly gift to us?" And the thief looked in his pocket and very carefully pulled out a tiny little brown pear seed, and he offered it to the emperor, saying, "This is a magic seed. If you plant this pear seed, then it will grow into a tree overnight, and tomorrow there will be golden fruit, pears made of gold. Well, this got the emperor's attention. He did rather like his gold, did our emperor. Well then, he said, we will plant the seed and keep you in a cell overnight, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. So he commanded the whole court to go outside, and he demanded that somebody dig a hole. And then he looked at the thief and said, right, thief, plant the seed. But the thief once more prostrated himself in front of the emperor, and he said, no, your majesty, I cannot possibly plant this seed. It is a magic seed, and it cannot be planted by a thief, or by a liar, or by a cheat. The only person that can plant this seed is you. Well, the emperor was slightly taken aback by this, and not wishing to lose face, of course, pooh-poohed this, dismissed it, and said, don't be ridiculous, emperors don't plant seeds. And he commanded the Prime Minister to plant the seed. Well, the Prime Minister in his mind was running through all the dodgy deals he'd done and all the backhanders and perhaps quite a lot of lies going on there, and didn't he cheat that person out of but he pooh-poohed the idea. He said, I am a Minister of State, I'm not a gardener. Let the Minister of Agriculture plant the seed. So the Minister of Agriculture was put on the spot, and he too was having all these thoughts very similar to the Prime Minister, and he decided, no, this was far too grand a task for someone of such a lowly status as himself, and perhaps it's a task that the treasurer should carry out. And of course, one by one, throughout the court, all the ministers declined to plant the seed. I wonder what would happen in our government today here in England if we tried that. Anyway, back to our man. There he was, prostrate on the ground in front of the emperor, all the emperor's ministers having declared they couldn't possibly plant this seed. And the thief said, begging your pardon, your majesty, it seems to me that if none of you can plant it, because you have at some point obviously lied and cheated and stole, is it right, is it just that I, who stole a single pear because I was starving, should be punished? What could the emperor do? He declared that it was not justice for this man to be punished, but instead it was justice for him to be set free. There we are, today's story. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow for another one. Have a good rest of the weekend. Bye-bye now.